First, let's take a trip to where it all began. The Bible. Genesis 6:1, 2, and 4 says, "When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose." The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. In those days, there was an abominable relationship between the sons of God and the daughters of men. Like many scholars say, these sons of God were fallen angels sent to earth on a mission. But while on the job, they got sidetracked by the irresistible beauty before their eyes. The fallen angels found the daughters of men too pretty to resist. So they took the women for wives and had children by them. The result? An unholy combination of spirit and human, the Nephilim. What would one expect from the relationship between mortals and immortals? A normal child was far from the line. So these women bore children who were nothing like normal humans. Instead, they towered as lumbering giants and were even known to be wicked. Not only were they physically intimidating, but their presence on the earth wrought a great dilemma for people at the time. Adding this to the atrocities committed by Sodom and Gomorrah, it was not long before God became fed up. He knew it was time to clean up. So in Genesis 6:17, God said to Noah, "I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish." After this announcement, God instructs Noah about the building measurements to follow as he worked on the ark. And once the ark was completed, the disastrous flood came along, wiping out every form of life, all except those in the ark. But many centuries later, we see something strange in the Bible. Strange enough to make us question the Great Flood and the information provided about it. We see Goliath of Gath, a Philistine soldier who derived joy from taunting the Israelites and instilling fear in their armies. But Goliath was no ordinary warrior. He was a towering giant. The Bible describes his height as 6 cubits and a span. For context, this translates to roughly 9 feet 9 inches. Can you believe that? This lumbering giant was too terrifying to look at, and he challenged the Israelites for a long while. Since his figure does not match that of normal humans, the concerns started brewing in the background. How does Goliath exist after the flood wiped away the Nephilim? What if the Nephilim bloodline was not entirely eradicated by the Great Flood? Imagine this. The rain is falling heavily. The floodwaters are rising above buildings and every existing structure. The only thing afloat the volume of water is an ark. Noah's Ark. This large boat carries the last refuge of uncorrupted humanity and floats atop the world that is being wiped clean. However, beneath the surface of this divine plan, there might have been a loophole. One that reveals that maybe not everyone on that ark was uncorrupted. One or more carried the Nephilim bloodline aboard. According to the Jewish text called the Book of Jasher, Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. While this information is not new, the Book of Jasher reveals that the 3 sons of Noah were already married before the ark was built, but nothing is said about their wives. We know nothing about the women whom the sons of Noah married. No names, no lineages, and no origin stories. Just 3 anonymous women brought aboard. Could it be that one or more of these women carried Nephilim DNA? What if they were not giants themselves, but mere carriers of a diluted strain? Think about it. There were countless unholy unions between fallen angels and the daughters of men. Many rabbinic commentaries suggest that Ham's wife may have descended from one of these unholy unions. And for a bigger catch, What if it wasn't just Ham's wife, but his brother's spouses as well? This would mean that the ark did not just save the lives of Noah's family, but also preserved the very bloodline God intended to destroy. And this is where things get interesting. Genetic dilution. This means that traits don't just vanish in one generation. What if the Nephilim DNA has been passed down in trace amounts through the ages? Although dormant, it is still present, re-emerging in sudden ways. You see it in abnormally tall stature, unusual strength, and psychological anomalies. Perhaps the flood did not end the Nephilim story. What if it restarted it? It does not end here. When we consider what happened after the flood, the theory gains even more traction, specifically what happened with Ham, Noah's youngest son. In Genesis chapter 9, we are told that Ham saw his father's nakedness while Noah was drunk with wine. Not only did he witness the sight of his father's nudity, but he shared it with his brothers. When Noah was sober, he became furious and cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. In his words, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers." Since the Bible does not explain why such a harsh punishment was given for an offense so vague, it seems that there was more to the pronouncement. Many researchers believe that the curse was not about disrespect. Rather, it represents bloodline contamination, with the Nephilim ranking high in that regard. How, you ask? Centuries later, we see the Canaanites, the descendants of Canaan, son of Ham, producing giant offspring as well. In no time, the children of Israel began to encounter Anakim and Rephaim, a tribe of giants descending from the Canaanites. We see this when Moses sent Hebrew spies to look over the land of Canaan. Their report was chilling. In Numbers chapter 13, 31-33, they reported, "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are." And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, "The land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." Wait, did they say Nephilim? You heard that right, Nephilim. And this happened centuries after the Great Flood, which was meant to wipe out every trace of the Nephilim from Earth's surface. The spies testified that they saw the descendants of Anak who came from the Nephilim, and they lived in Canaan, Ham's land. This brings us back to the curse laid on Ham after he saw his father's nakedness. What if the curse was not random? Could it be that it was the result of a hidden inheritance? One dormant gene passed through his wife and manifested again in the post-flood world. If not, do we call it a coincidence that the land of Canaan became the hotspot for giants? Or did the Nephilim DNA that thrived on the ark finally find room to grow again? We know. This theory almost sounds like blasphemy to the ears. Else, what do you call Noah's lineage that was described as perfect in Genesis 6:9? It was said that Noah was perfect in his generations. This would mean that not one unholy breath could be found in Noah's lineage, both in his past and present. In addition, we see how infuriated God was over the abominable relationship between the sons of God and the daughters of men. We see this expressed anger of God in more apocryphal texts, like the Book of Enoch. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 10, verse 11-13, we read, "And the Lord said unto Michael, Go, bind Semjaza and his associates who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth, till the day of their judgment and of their consummation, till the judgment that is forever and ever is consummated." This is how angry the Lord was towards the union between the fallen angels and women on the earth. So the question remains, if God was this furious against the Nephilim, why would he let any trace of them survive through the great flood? The answer is no reason. It makes no sense. If he let them survive, it would mean that the entire point of the flood was a waste. The great flood was made to be a divine reboot and not a half-hearted cleanse. Other theorists argue that if the wives of Noah's sons were tainted, God would have rejected them too. Since the passengers of the ark were deliberately selected for their purity, the theory of the Nephilim surviving till this day through the ark seems like a flop. But if this theory is wrong, why do giants still reappear after the flood? Why does Goliath exist? Why did Og of Bashan reappear? Well, maybe the corruption did not come back through Noah's ark. Instead, maybe it never left in the first place.